for her boyfriend, who's serving an indefinite prison sentence at HMP Lancaster Farms. Imprisonment for Public Protection, or IPP, sentences were introduced back in 2005 for prisoners who were deemed to pose a risk to the public. Campaigners say it can mean an effective life sentence for sometimes minor crimes. Courts were banned from imposing them in 2012 after criticism by the European Court of Human Rights. However, hundreds of inmates found themselves locked up for years beyond the end of their tariff after finding it hard to access rehabilitation courses in custody in order to demonstrate that they no longer pose a risk. One of them is 31-year-old Ben Gayton. He's served 8 years on a 17-month sentence. His girlfriend, Hannah Mcculloch, told our reporter John Barnes how Ben first went to prison.
He was convicted in 2005 for a fight he had in town. It just went wrong. I think the man ended up in hospital, but he got sentenced to 17 months, but served 7 years on his IPP.
So why was an IPP sentence made? Is it believed that Ben is a danger to the public?
Yeah, the Pro Board said he's at high risk to the public.
Why was he recalled?
He went out in town with some friends and there was a fight that happened and he got accused of manslaughter. We did a trial, it was a 5-day trial, and he got found not guilty and served 10 months. He was out in January 2015.
And recalled for a second time?
Yeah, he was recalled in January 2017. But then Ben had to wait for a parole hearing, which they gave him on for April 2018. They asked to defer it until July, which got deferred again till the November 2018 for Ben to see a psychologist. Ben did his psychology report and all sorts. They said he was safe to be released. The Pro Board have just gone against that. Probation recommended release and inside probation, and the Pro Board have just said, no, I think you need to stay in a bit longer.
So how does Ben feel about that?
Ben's gutted. He just wants to get back to his family. He just wants to go back to work and provide for his family.
What does he find most difficult about it? Is it that he doesn't know when he has any chance of being released?
Yeah, that's it. There's just no light at the end of the tunnel. Just stuck in there. Like, how long? How much more are they going to say? Well, you need to do this, you need to do that. Because every time he does what they ask, they just ignore it and say, well, you need to do this. And he's tried to go on courses, but they said that he's not eligible for any of the courses. He doesn't meet the criteria.
So how do you feel about it, Anna?
It's soul destroying, isn't it? I just sit here every day trying to look after the kids. I've got 3 young kids and they ask me when he's going to be home and I don't know what to say to them. I just say he's at work and it's horrible. It's just horrible to explain to them all the time. We go and see him as often as we can, but I don't know, it's just horrible, heartbreaking.
And you're part of a campaign against IPP sentences?
I met a lady that does Smash IPP and she's helped me a lot through it all, and we did a march through Lancaster this weekend just gone.
So what do you want to see happen now?
We just want the remaining IPPs to be heard, just be listened to, and it was abolished in 2012, so why should they have to be locked away and have to keep answering to a Pro Board that say that they're a risk? I mean, Ben sat in front of a group of people, 4 people that said that they don't think he's changed. How can they say he's not changed when they've just met him for 2 hours? I think everyone should have a release date. I mean, Ben doesn't have a release date. When are we going to get him home? How many more Christmases and birthdays is he going to miss?
Girlfriend Hannah Mcculloch speaking with our reporter John Barnes. Some more reaction now. Peter Dawson is director of the Prison Reform Trust. I spoke with him a little earlier and asked him if he believes the law should be changed.
Yes, the law does need to be changed. The sentence itself was abolished in 2012, but Parliament only did half of the job. What still exists is that the people who were given this sentence have a lifelong licence. Now that means that they can be brought back to prison at any time, and that's just not fair when you look at the offences that many of them committed in the first place. And what we've got because of that lifelong licence is that the number of people being recalled to prison, not necessarily because they've committed crime and certainly not because they've committed more serious crime, will very soon exceed the number of people on this sentence who are being released from prison. So the problem is going to get worse, not better.
From what you're saying, it seems as if these men, women, they're never clear of it.
That's exactly right. No, it's a licence that lasts until the day that you die. There is provision for that to be reviewed after somebody has been released for 10 years, but nobody's got to that point yet, and it's only a promise of a review. The other key thing to say is that there are people in prison now whose prospects of release look incredibly distant. Around 2,500 people still in prison serving this sentence. Almost all of them, about 90%, have gone past the point where punishment has been served. So the court has said you should now be eligible for release.
So are they deemed a danger to themselves, a danger to the public?
Well, they have to get past the parole board, and the parole board is interested in the risk that they present to the public. So it's about risk to the public. But risk is
just as well they're still locked up then, isn't it?
Well, but risk is not something that stays the same forever, and it's also not something that you can't manage. And what people tend to forget is that prison can do a certain amount to reduce risk, to help people understand how they can live a crime-free life. But when you are released, there is then a probation service whose job it is to help you do that, and also to watch for signs that things are going wrong and intervene to keep the public safe.
Let's look for some remedies, Peter, if we may. It's not feasible, it's probably not safe, is it, to release 1,500 people straight away?
Absolutely not. No, it needs to be a gradual process. But all of those people need to be told, and this requires a change in the law, they need to be told that there will be an end date. There will be a moment when they have served as long as they are going to serve in prison. And then they need to be released to a period of supervision and help. And that's the key thing that we're looking for now, is that as people come to be released, and everybody should have that opportunity, the money that we're currently spending keeping people in prison, we need to spend on supporting them in the community, and that's the best way to keep us all safe.
Peter Dawson from the Prison Reform Trust.